For decades, alien encounters and abductions were dismissed as fiction.
I saw this illumination that was moving with respect to the stars. We were smart enough to not say, Houston, there's a light out there that's following us. So technically it becomes an unidentified flying object.
But when different people describe the same impossible experiences, it stops feeling like coincidence.
It was just on dusk. I saw what I thought was red orange lights in the field. It just looked unusual to me.
These aren't just stories, it's something hard to ignore.
The extraterrestrials, when they come, there's always a tension because they always come heavily armed.
So the one or the mind that was in Jesus, what? That mind is in me? You'll have to decide that for yourself.
This is only a glimpse of a long, recorded initiation videotape that Marshall Applewhite made in 1996, telling viewers of a last chance to evacuate Earth. He founded a religious cult called Heaven's Gate and was a former music teacher who later adopted extreme spiritual and apocalyptic beliefs, teaching that Earth faced imminent destruction, and only a chosen few who followed his guidance could escape and transform beyond it.
Your only chance to evacuate is to leave with us. Planet Earth about to be recycled.
This cult group that he founded, along with another founder, Bonnie Nettles, in the 1970s, where both of them disconnected themselves from family ties and individual identity, which he covered in the tape.
Now you keep saying us. Who do you think you are? Well, I, in all honesty, must acknowledge my father. My father is not a human father. My father is a member of the evolutionary level above human, the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven.
What followed next was that he referred to himself as the very consciousness that appeared in the form of Jesus Christ thousands of years ago, twisting the prophecy to his advantage.
The name Christ might be a little confusing, or the name Jesus, because the name Jesus, of course, was the name given to the body that mind that was indeed from the kingdom of heaven came, and that mind was here 2,000 years ago, and that mind came for the express purpose of teaching humans how they could be saved, how they would not be plowed under at the end of the age. Well, we're at the end of the age. So the one or the mind that was in Jesus, what? That mind is in me? You'll have to decide that for yourself.
Within the tape, the father that he more often referred to wasn't his biological father, but rather his fellow founder, Bonnie Nettles, who had passed away due to natural causes in 1985. He identified her as Ty, a higher-level being who spiritually gave birth to Applewhite Dew. Applewhite thought that he was reborn spiritually through her, meaning his true identity emerged after meeting Nettles.
I'll tell you something that's even more remarkable. My father came with me this time. Came in the early 70s, took on a human form, an adult human form, helped me get in an adult human form in the early 70s, and we together helped those who came with us that were also here 2,000 years ago get in the bodies that they were wearing so that they could rid themselves of human behavior, human activity, human thinking, so that they could be ready to move into the kingdom of heaven or the evolutionary level above human. These that are sitting before me have been students of T and O. T, my father, have been students of T and O, are still students of T and O, even though T returned to the heavens in 1985. And T is my heavenly father, gave me birth into that kingdom before this civilization began.
Between 1985 and 1997, he gathered about 39 followers who lived together in a rented mansion in Rancho Santa Fe, California, called The Monastery, where Applewhite, also known as Dew, was treated as a godlike figure and enforced strict rules on everyone, including identical haircuts, baggy clothing, and even controlled facial expressions. According to how he convinced himself of them, he can lead them to the next level of existence. In late March 1997, Marshall Applewhite convinced his followers that a UFO trailing the Hale-Bopp comet was their signal to reach the next level, a higher, eternal possible existence beyond Earth. The group carried out the act over 3 days in organized waves, with members dressed in black clothing as spacesuits, black and white Nike sneakers, and armbands reading Heaven's Gate Away Team. Applewhite went last to affirm his leadership. They were all later found on bunk beds, tables, and mattresses, each covered with a purple blanket to symbolize a calm, orderly departure. Civilization on the Moon. Back in May 2024, a series of satellite images and videos was shared by an unnamed source showing signs of a civilization that was seen on the Moon, from craters made by saucer landings to large constructed structures, pyramids, and even statues visible on the surface. This led to a theory that the Moon appears to be an alien base, with the evidence seeming to be genuine, and the first of its kind started getting viral because of it, especially when it was connected and was in line with the aftermath impressions of the astronauts during the 1969 Apollo mission. The rather depressed and disturbed expressions of the astronauts who couldn't share anything with the public or media because of the implications.
I believe that what this country set out to do was something that was going to be done sooner or later.
It's a beginning of a new age.
Simon Parkes. Simon Parkes is a British Labour Party local councillor from Whitby, North Yorkshire, who became widely known not for his political work, but for making highly unusual public claims about reptilians and extraterrestrials in multiple different interviews and presentations. This clip was taken from one of his conferences, where he shared having been babysat by a real reptilian. Simon then goes on to explain his real origins and what his real father was like.
To me, is I exist in two worlds.
Yes.
That's what they've said to me. You exist in two worlds, and your genetic material is able to survive in our world. We have been able to take your soul out of your body, put it in one of ours. Therefore, we wish to make hybrids of your genetic material because they will last longer on the earth. I'm collected by a creature, this one here, and passed on to another creature. And as we approach, we're underground, we're under a cave, it's really hot. And the creature that I'm with says, "Do you see this great lord approaching you? Do you know who that is?" And I say, "Yes, of course, that's Daddy." And then I go up to him and say, "Hello, Daddy." And he says to me, "You who call me father." And it sounds really awful because it's like, oh my God, he's going to turn on me. And he says, "For you are my son. I created you. I made you," is the word he uses. And I say, "Are you happy, Daddy?" And he says, "I am pleased."
Furthermore, he shared one of his private moments with his so-called father with respect to getting into a relationship and how things went on.
So I say, "Oh, yes, please. Can I have a pretty young female like Prickles?" That's the nickname. That's the one that come to get me. And she's a lion person, but she's a reptilian lion. She says to me when she arrives, "I am a servant of the reptile race." And her name is Zuka La La La. That's her name. Zuka La La La. That's her real name. The Zugar is her original lion name, but when she defected to the reptile race, they added the La 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 to it. So her name incorporates the fact that she has been subverted from one race to another. And this isn't her body. This is just a costume. This isn't part of her body. It's just, but it's to represent the wings of a Alpha Draconis, of a reptile. And this is just a mask that she wears over her face. It's just a mask. So she could take all that off. It's just like a uniform. So I'm on this chair, and he's offered me this pretty young female. I say, "Can I have her, or can I have," this is really funny, "or can I have the woman on the Fry's Turkish Delight advert that's on television?" And he says,
As a boy.
"Yes." So without going into horrific detail, I have sex with her. It's not real, it's all holographic.
At
And
6 years old.
Yes, and he is instructing me how to have sex. And he says, the woman, it's awful this, isn't it? The man is there to take, the woman is there to give. And he says, the only reason that woman is put on the earth is to serve and to make replacements. And that's the word he uses, make replacements.
Simon then added to being in a ritual ceremony that he was forced to attend.
And then he said, "Would you like to eat her?" And I say, "No," because I'm only 6 now. I said, no, she's going to have a baby. And if it grows, I want it to look like me. And he says, "No, she is not manifest. She is only in our minds. And he says, would you like to feast on flesh? And I say, no, I don't really want to do that. Why do I have to do that? And he says, you don't have to do it. But if you do it, we will become father and son. And I said, but I thought we were father and son. In our law, that's the reptilian law, father must feast on vanquished flesh with his son before you are. So I eat this holographic Fry's Turkish Delight lady who's screaming. It's really realistic. And my teeth aren't made for it. But then he says, enough feasting, and she just vanishes.
Years later, he made a political statement of leaders being advised by an alien race called the Nordics, claiming that they gave all the technology. Travis Walton. On November 5th, 1975, a logging crew in Arizona was done for the day and was packing up when one of them, Travis Walton, saw a bright, unusual light and a disc-shaped object in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest. Initially, he thought it was hunters when he decided to investigate.
A whole lot of chatter in the car. We're just talking away, it's starting to get dark. We just loaded up our equipment. We're headed out. And I looked up ahead and I saw this kind of glow coming through the trees. First I thought, no big deal, it was deer hunting season. Maybe there was some hunters camped up on the hill up there. One by one, the other guys in the crew started looking, but nobody said, oh my God, what's that, or anything like that. It was just kind of an idle curiosity at first. But when we burst into the clearing where we could see the source of this glow, it was just, whoa, it was just mind-blowing instantly.
At this point, he vanished without a trace, which triggered an intense search and quickly drew national attention, with possibilities of this being a homicide being high on the list.
Sheriff showed up. He didn't really believe our story.
You killed him, just admit it.
You kept telling me, if you just tell us where the body is, we can all go home.
There was probably 150, 200 people out searching for Travis.
It was scary, really scary.
5 days later, Walton was found near Heber, Arizona, confused and weak, with little recollection of where he had been. He later claimed he had been taken aboard an alien craft, subjected to examinations by extraterrestrials, and encountered figures he believed could appear human.
I felt like there was something seriously wrong. It was only a matter of seconds before I realized that these weren't human doctors. This was an alien face.
Walton has consistently stood by his story and passed multiple polygraph tests. Combined with eyewitness testimony from his crew, the case remains one of the most debated and well-known alleged UFO abductions in history. Terry Lovelace. Terry Lovelace, a former U.S. Air Force serviceman, attorney, and later an assistant attorney general, claims he experienced an alien abduction in 1977 while camping with a fellow airman at Devil's Den State Park in Arkansas. He says they observed a massive, silent UFO emitting intense light that gradually started passing towards them.
He walks over and he picks it up and he looks at it and he says, I think this is human. I think this is part of a skull. Now, when I read this out of the Bartlesville Examiner, my first thought was that that's a staged crime scene. I mean, back to my days as a felony prosecutor, I think, how would part of someone's skull reached white from the sun? How would that suddenly end up on this trail where thousands of people walk on a weekly basis? Just another example of the weirdness that goes on there.
He and his companion experienced missing time. After seeing the bright UFO at Devil's Den State Park, they suddenly found themselves back at their campsite with several hours unaccounted for and unaware of what had happened.
These kind of places, if they have the name Devil, Diablo, some type of reference to the devil in the name, seem to have a much higher occurrence of people going missing. And there's a Devil's Pond, Devil's Tower, Devil's Cave. The name is there's literally hundreds. I thought that was fascinating research to find that out. What's the connection? Who knows? Maybe coincidental. As far as the UFO connection goes, obviously I have my thoughts on that, and my convictions are pretty strong. David Paulides in private will allude to that, but I don't think he wants to come out and make that statement that that's a real possibility. And I think he's concerned, and it's probably a legitimate concern, because he's a data-driven guy. He likes proof. He likes empirical proof. It's a strange place. Weird stuff happens there.
Decades later, Recurring nightmares, anxiety, and health issues led Lovelace to seek hypnotic regression, during which he recalled being taken aboard a craft, restrained, and examined by non-human beings. He also claims medical scans revealed a small metallic object embedded in his leg that could not be explained. Lovelace later detailed the experience in his book, drawing attention within UFO research circles, though his account remains unverified and highly debated. Charles Hall. Charles Hall is a former U.S. Air Force weather observer who became known for claiming direct contact with extraterrestrials during his military service in the 1960s, and according to his account, he was stationed at Nellis Air Force Base in Indian Springs, Nevada, where his duties required him to travel alone into restricted desert areas to collect weather data for military operations. Hall said that during these assignments, he repeatedly encountered very tall, pale, human-like beings he called the Tall Whites, whom he claimed lived near secret military facilities and operated advanced craft.
There was this giant white radioactive horse that floated around the ranges at night and was fluorescent. The extraterrestrials, when they come, even if they're your good friends, there's always a tension because they always come heavily armed.
He stated that his superiors warned him not to interfere with them and to follow strict rules, such as avoiding their children, as adult tall whites could respond aggressively, while communication occurred through gestures and mental impressions. And over time, he believed the U.S. military maintained a tense but cooperative relationship with these beings, allowing Hall limited exposure as long as he obeyed orders and remained silent about what he witnessed. Kelly Cahill. Kelly Cahill is an Australian woman who claims she experienced a UFO abduction in August 1993 while driving with her husband near Dandenong in Victoria, Australia. According to Cahill, they encountered a large glowing craft hovering above the road, after which they lost time and later noticed missing memories.
My husband and I were driving up to my girlfriend's place in Monbulk, which is in the Dandenong Mountains. We were driving on Belgrave Hallam Road, and it was just on dusk. I saw what I thought was red orange lights in the field. It just looked unusual to me. It's about a kilometre or so in front of us, about twice the height of the treetops. We could see this object, which at first I thought was a blimp. It had the shape of a blimp, but it was light. As we got closer to it, the light seemed to sort of separate, and it was actually these a row of round lights, and they were orange. It appeared like there was silhouettes standing in these round orange circles, like people, but you could only see the black outline. Well, I just said to my husband, look, there's people in there. And the minute I said that, it shot off to the left of us. Within 1 or 2 seconds, it was gone completely. About a kilometre or two further down the road, as we kept driving, I came across what I thought was a screen or a wall of light across the road. And my heart started racing and the adrenaline was sort of pumping through my body, and I'm thinking, we've just seen this back down there. We're in for, close encounter. The next instant, nothing. We seem to have actually covered a fair distance that I don't even remember covering. It might have been possibly close to a kilometre, but I don't remember actually travelling. There was no light. There was.
Cahill says she later recalled the moments when she made a stop to check it out along with her husband, with other witnesses as well, noticing the UFO that looked like it had landed with the extraterrestrials that closed in on her.
Then I saw that there was another car that had pulled up 100 metres down the road. Then I walked around the front of the car to where my husband was standing on the other side, and we started walking across the road together. As we were walking across the road, I looked down and I saw that the other people were getting out the car and starting to walk as well. So I was quite happy that there was other people there who were seeing the same thing that we were. And we walked up along here to where the fence is. Right out in front of us, there's this huge craft. We stood here side by side, my husband and I, for about 30 to 45 seconds. Then this tall dark being just appeared in front of the craft, and he was followed by about another 7 or 8 that appeared straight behind him.
I felt this energy go through me. It's like nothing I've ever experienced before in my life. It was like some sort of low-level frequency that came in waves, but it was so dense that I could actually physically feel it going through my body. And that feeling absolutely terrified me. It was like I can't even explain the horror that I felt, just feeling this. And I began screaming. The minute I did, the eyes on these things lit up and they came charging across the field.
Halfway across, they split up into two groups. Some headed off down there and the rest came directly towards us. Felt this blow to my stomach, and the next thing you know, I'm back here somewhere on the grass. It literally lifted me off my feet.
And I thought I was going to die. I thought if I don't get up now, I'm going to pass out and I'm going to die. I'm not going to come back to consciousness, you know. So I pulled myself up into a sitting position, and when I sat up, I couldn't see anything. And like there was just black in front of my eyes.
Her story became even more credible as the other witnesses on the scene described the spacecraft as being almost identical. She also reported physical marks on her body and long-term psychological effects.
She saw. She has seen the sketches they drew for UFO researchers.
They've drawn the same circles of light around the top of the craft with these blue lines coming down, ending in a semicircle on the ground. They've actually also drawn a tripod underneath, which was something I didn't see that night. It becomes very clear then that we were all looking at the same thing and that it wasn't your average saucer-shaped craft. And basically, the second party were able to draw sketches of the being very similar to the ones that I had, and they're not your usual little grey things that are, you know, mere propaganda.
Her account attracted significant attention in Australia due to multiple alleged witnesses who reported seeing unusual lights in the area. Edgar Mitchell. Edgar Mitchell, the Apollo 14 astronaut who walked on the moon in 1971, never claimed to have personally encountered aliens on the lunar surface, but his story took on a mysterious tone after his return to Earth. Mitchell later explained that during and after his mission, he became aware through briefings, conversations with insiders, and his own investigations of information suggesting that extraterrestrial beings had been monitoring humanity for decades.
Former astronaut Lake Worth resident Edgar Mitchell has raised some eyebrows and ruffled some feathers with his claim.
They obviously have a different body configuration than we do, and the little grays, that's the most prevalent one. I don't know how many or where or how they're doing it, but they've been observing us and here for quite some time, and we see these craft all the time.
He described being told that UFOs had been observed around nuclear sites and even during early space missions, though never directly interfering. While flying back from the moon, Mitchell also spoke of a profound, almost transcendent experience, a sudden realization of cosmic unity that convinced him intelligent life was widespread and actively observing Earth.
The reason for the denial was they didn't know if these were hostile and could we protect ourselves from them. Didn't want the Soviets to know, so devised to lie about it.
In later years, he publicly stated that alien visitations were real and that governments were withholding the truth, framing his beliefs not as a single dramatic encounter on the moon, but as a gradual awakening shaped by spaceflight, classified knowledge, and a deep conviction that humanity was not alone. Boyd Bushman. A man named Boyd Bushman, a senior aerospace engineer who worked for major defense contractors including Lockheed Martin, claimed he was involved in secret Area 51 related projects, and later revealed a collection of photos he said showed real extraterrestrials, insisting they were taken during classified work. He publicly stated that aliens were real, describing the beings he claimed to have seen and photographed as small.
Now notice the eyes are different, nose are different, but they do have 5 fingers, 5 toes, 2 eyes, and rather strangely enough, I asked him how they communicate. He says, well, it's like this, Boyd. You almost didn't have a question in your mind. You walk in a room with one of them, and all of a sudden you find yourself giving the answer to your question in your own voice. They're able to use your own voice by telepathy to talk to you. And I said, fine.
Thin, gray figures with large heads and eyes. He also claimed that some of this technology was not man-made, and that certain projects involved reverse engineering alien craft. Bushman added that these extraterrestrials, co-workers, communicated telepathically. He further shared images of their body structure and anatomy, and shared details about their different character types along with behaviors to different instances. After his passing, the photos he presented were widely disputed, with critics saying they showed a toy or model, but Bushman's statements still became a major part of UFO lore. Kelly Tyler. on a morning show that was aired and went viral in June 2024, where a woman named Kelly Tyler claimed to be a living and breathing alien that walks among the humans while looking like one. She explained her origin to be from starseeds and was here to help humanity.
And really, I think starseeds are souls from another star system that have incarnated as humans. So people go, well, you look pretty human to me. You don't have that 6-foot blue head or whatever it is that they see from sci-fi films.
She then went on to prove herself by sharing unbelievable incidents, such as having healed from a serious illness.
Later, I developed whooping cough, and I got really, really ill. To the fact that I'd lost all my weight, doctors said, she's not going to make it. And at that time, myself and this being exchanged souls. So this is what's called a walk-in. So it's not a possession of somebody's taking over. It's a mutual agreement when we decided to exchange souls. So that's what happened. And so now I am a starseed, or a star being.
What was the explanation from the doctor? If you were so ill and the doctor told your parents that you weren't going to survive, you were probably going to die, what was the explanation?
Miracle.
So they couldn't actually justify what happened. You just miraculously started getting better.
They said I went back to school. I had to catch up on school because I was out for about 6 months. But I lost my allergies. I didn't have kidney failure, and also my intellect changed. Now, I wouldn't say that my parents would ever said I was stupid when I was younger. I went from actually being not that clever to being able to do stuff. I ended up passing an entrance exam, private school, and they just thought I had no chance of getting in. And so my social skills improved. I became less shy and introverted. Lots of significant changes happened, and nobody could really understand why.
After Kelly then added that the swapped version of herself was from a distant galaxy and can leave her earthly body on command.
The being that I now know I had an exchange with is from Arcturus.
Right.
So that's a...
Arcturus, okay.
It's one of the brightest stars. You can see it in the sky at the moment.
So the fourth largest
yes.
or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's really interesting that I look back at my life and it feels like I look at a photo album of myself. I remember my sick birthday and things, but I don't have an emotional connection of being there. It's like looking at my life in photos. And that's part of my healing journey. When I was younger, I used to go to this blue quantum healing chamber in Arcturus, and that was part of my physical healing to help me get better. So it's not just Arcturians, they're Pleiadians, Andromeda, Orion. There's lots of people from different star systems, and we all bring different qualities.
How do you get there?
To astral travel, it depends if you voluntary or involuntary do it, but everyone can do it if they wanted to learn.
Right.
Anyone can actually lift themselves out of their bodies, and you're connected to a purple umbilical cord. So you can choose where you go. Sometimes you can choose, sometimes you're just taken somewhere.
But there's something specific you have to do.
No.
It just sort of happens.
Yeah. I mean, when I used to astral travel, it was for healing. And I was told, stop coming back here because your duty is on Earth. So stop distracting and coming back when your mission is here. So I don't astral travel now unless I really need to replenish or I feel quite hopeless around what's going on in the world and I need a bit of a boost.
When asked about the purpose of what this all was about, she added about the inclination of working together with humans to achieve a certain greatness.
Is there essentially a higher purpose? Is there a plan? Why is it happening?
I think we're at a real polycrisis as humanity. Financial, educational, climate, everything's coming. We're at this tipping point where humanity needs support. And if we don't really understand our interconnectedness to everything, then we're not going to survive this. The planet won't survive. So the role of starseeds is to help people reconnect to what it is to be human, to have more compassion around other sentient beings, but also to actually work in harmony. And rather than see ourselves as separate, I mean, we're at a time where we're all so connected with the internet, but when I speak to people, they feel so isolated. They feel like I don't know who to trust. They don't really know themselves. And if you look at indigenous tribes, they don't have this understanding of what's nature and what's them. We are one. And so it's just helping people to raise their ability to connect with themselves and raise the frequency of the planet. Now, the planet actually has a resonance. You can look at this from the Heart Math Institute or Schumann resonance, and you can see how we are, our collective minds and the way that we take action affect the frequency of our planet. And starseeds are here to raise that frequency.
She then further added to having the ability to telepathically communicate with animals and trees too. Joe Simmonton. In 1961, video footage captured the account of Joe Simmonton of Eagle River, Wisconsin, who claimed he had a close encounter with aliens that ended in an unusual exchange. Simmonton reported hearing a high-pitched whining sound before seeing a craft roughly 10 meters wide and 4 meters high descend from the sky and land near his home, with exhaust pipes lining its outer edge.
And I turned around, put the dishes in the sink, and I looked out the window, and that's when I first saw this thing coming straight down, just like an elevator. And first I thought the roof went off of my house, and I thought, no, the roof is green and this is bright. What the heck is it?
Simmonton described a hatch that opened before a small man, about 5 feet tall, emerged wearing a black turtleneck, a white belt, and black trousers marked by a white stripe, saluting or greeting him.
Having a bite of lunch, and I turned around, put the dishes in the sink, and I looked out the window, and that's when I first saw this thing coming straight down, just like an elevator.
2 more figures were visible inside the craft. After the figure gestured for a drink, Simmonton brought him a jug of water, and in return was given 3 freshly cooked pancakes that tasted like cardboard. Moments later, the hatch sealed, the craft rose about 20 feet, and then departed at a sharp angle.
And with that, the thing started to raise, just like it came down. Everything was timed perfect. It went up about 20 feet, it tilted at 45 degrees, straight south, and shot off.
Val Johnson. In the early hours of August 27, 1979, Deputy Sheriff Val Johnson was on a routine patrol when a blinding light suddenly appeared and rapidly approached his patrol car, causing a collision-like incident.
I traveled about a mile, and the light seemed to intercept me, so to speak. Came right upon me. It was painful. The light was extremely brilliant and painful. I closed my eyes and I heard the sound of breaking glass, and that's the last I remember.
The aftermath showed considerable damage to his vehicle. The windshield was shattered, antennas were bent, and both his wristwatch and the car clock had mysteriously lost 14 minutes. Johnson also suffered temporary blindness and sought medical attention after the incident.
I have no idea. It's truly unexplainable to me, or unknown to me.
Despite investigations by various organizations, there was no further evidence of the encounter, except his wrecked car and the flash burns that he had to his eyes. Many believe aliens planned the crash and used it to abduct him into another dimension, and removed all of the evidence, which explains why he was out for only 14 minutes on Earth. He's sure the aliens will return, but this time, he'll be prepared. Piers and Freda. In 1978, Piers and Freda's ordinary life as a night guard took a shocking turn. While on duty, a brilliantly glowing UFO suddenly appeared, and from it emerged a group of reptilian beings with green, mottled skin, piercing yellow eyes, and sharp, pointed ears. They communicated with him, claiming to come from a distant world called Titonia. After the encounter, Zanfretta experienced several hours of lost time. When he returned to awareness, he found himself under the scrutiny of the Italian military police. His car, inexplicably, was heating up despite being turned off, and massive, unusual footprints were discovered nearby. Over a series of hypnosis sessions, Zanfretta recounted the event in vivid detail, with his testimony remaining consistent each time. The extraordinary nature of his experience captured widespread media attention, establishing his case as one of the most compelling alien abduction stories ever recorded. Carl Higden. On October 25, 1974, Carl Higden set out for a hunting trip in the remote stretches of Medicine Bow National Forest with a .7mm Magnum rifle. As he aimed at an elk, something impossible happened. The bullet seemed to slow in midair, hanging as if time itself had paused. Before him appeared a humanoid figure named Auso, clad in a sleek black jumpsuit that shimmered in the forest light. Auso offered Higden a small pill, claiming it could keep him nourished for days without food.
So I decided to go on down into the forest, and I hunted down there until, it must have been around 4 o'clock. So I walked down over this hill. Whenever I got over the hill, I seen these 5 elk standing down there. One of them was a big bull, so I raised my gun to shoot. There's somebody. Strange. He wants me to go with him. Lights are bright. Can't keep my eyes open. Can't see. They look like me. Same features. He said the sun burns him. He's gonna take me.
Hesitant but curious, Higden took it, and in an instant, he was lifted aboard a transparent, otherworldly craft. The vehicle whisked him away to a strange dimension, where bizarre landscapes stretched endlessly, and other humanoid beings moved in ways that defied explanation. Then, just as suddenly, he was back in the forest, shaken and bewildered, with only the reversed bullet as proof of what had happened. Even more astonishing, after the encounter, Higden's long-standing health problems vanished, and he never fell ill again, leaving him to wonder if his experience had changed him in ways far beyond the physical. Dr. Frank Stranges. In the 1950s, Frank E. Stranges began what would become one of the most extraordinary encounters of the modern UFO era. While living in California, he met a being who called himself Valiant Thor.
He told me his name was Valiant Thor. He grabbed my hand. His hand was skin soft as a lady's or a baby's skin, but was a grip of a man. And we spent 30 minutes, mostly me asking questions and he giving answers. And he claimed that he was from the inside of the planet that our Bible calls the morning and the evening star, the planet Venus. He said yes.
A fully human-looking figure, yet unlike anyone Stranges had ever known. Thor possessed remarkable intelligence and abilities, and he explained that he was an emissary from Venus, sent to observe Earth during the tense days of the Cold War. Calm and composed, Thor warned Stranges about humanity's dangerous dependence on nuclear weapons, speaking of dire consequences if global leaders failed to change their ways. Over time, Stranges developed a close bond with the alien visitor, noting Thor's politeness, emotional restraint, and deep concern for human survival. According to Stranges, Thor even met with high-ranking U.S. officials, including members of the Eisenhower administration, quietly influencing decisions before eventually leaving Earth once his mission was complete.
Thor was at the Pentagon for 3 years, mind you, and he was going and coming at will. He was brought to the President of the United States, Dwight Eisenhower, and Richard Nixon, offered to give them information on how the American people could successfully live without sickness, without poverty, without disease, and without death. They told him, "We're sorry that we cannot accept the information that you're freely giving us because it will ruin the economy of this nation." Commander Thor left on the morning of March 16, 1960, on the outskirts of Alexandria, Virginia, where his spaceship came down. He went into the spaceship and disappeared from sight.
Stranges spent the rest of his life insisting the encounters were real, recounting his experiences in his book, Stranger at the Pentagon, a story that remains one of the most debated and fascinating claims of direct extraterrestrial contact. Dennis Hope. In 1980, Dennis Hope stumbled upon a startling loophole while reading about space law. No country had officially claimed ownership of the moon. The 1967 Outer Space Treaty forbade nations from staking a claim, but it said nothing about private ownership. Seizing the moment, Hope declared himself the owner of the moon and set about selling pieces of it to the public.
Good afternoon, Lunar Galactic Government Headquarters. May I help you? Yeah, we actually have been selling property on the moon since 1980. This is as real as any other property you can buy on Earth. I filed a declaration of ownership with the United Nations. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it.
He created the Lunar Embassy, complete with official-looking deeds and space-titled documents, offering anyone the chance to own a parcel of the moon for just a few dollars.
Property itself, regardless of which properties we sell you, are all the same price. They're $19.99, plus a $1.51 lunar or planetary tax, $2.50 to print the name on the document. So the total would be $24.
His idea caught on surprisingly fast. Thousands of people, from curious individuals to corporations and even celebrities, bought plots of lunar land.
Nowhere in an outer space treaty does it mention anything about individuals. This is the loophole that gave me the impetus to file a claim of ownership of the moon. Then I sent a note to the United Nations stating that if they had a legal problem with my claim of ownership, to please let me know. And on that note, I've never heard from them.
While governments never recognized his claims, Hope's audacious venture captured imaginations worldwide, turning a legal loophole into one of the most whimsical and extraordinary stories of modern space exploration. Vinnie O. Vinnie O is a human performance artist and self-described alien who became well known for his extreme body modifications driven by an obsession with extraterrestrial appearance. He gained attention after spending large sums of money on cosmetic procedures, including facial fillers, skin treatments, and the surgical removal of his belly button, all to look less human and more alien-like. Vinnie has said his goal is to completely reject human identity and become a living art project inspired by non-human beings. He often explains that aliens represent freedom from human limits, gender, and social rules. While many see his transformation as shocking or controversial, Vinnie insists it is a form of self-expression, and he has embraced media attention to share his belief that identity can be reshaped beyond normal human boundaries. Alfred Bielek. Alfred Bielek was a controversial figure in UFO and conspiracy circles who claimed to be a time traveler involved in secret U.S. government experiments, most famously the alleged Philadelphia experiment. He shared being in a distant 28th century and having seen the humankind. Bielek shared that in 1943, he was part of a naval project that made a ship invisible and accidentally sent him through time.
My name's Alfred Bielek. I have been involved in the Philadelphia experiment, the Montauk Project, time travel. I went up in the 28th century, and this was a time period of 2749 to 2751 AD. Talk about changes in civilization, society, and everything else was drastically changed from what we saw in 2137. As this is now 600 years later. The cities were enormous. The cities were beautiful. They had ground-based cities, much as we have always had them, but they also had something else, floating cities. Floating cities, due to anti-gravity techniques being perfected sufficiently that they could float an entire city, but it floated on this platform and they could move the city any place they want.
Causing him to jump decades into the future before being returned with his memories erased. According to him, these experiments were connected to classified programs involving time travel, mind control, and extraterrestrial technology, and he claimed his memories resurfaced years later, after watching a television broadcast that triggered recall. His stories were never supported by evidence or official records, but they became widely known in fringe and alternative history communities. The video has definitely reached its end. I will see you again with another wow video. Until then, you can check out these other videos for a wow dose of entertainment and knowledge.